Welcome to Democracy-ish. I'm Danielle Moody.
And I'm Wajat Ali. And thank you to Columbus for not discovering us and for landing on America, which already was populated by the indigenous people, and for being a war criminal and being humiliated and dragged back to Spain for war crimes. But hey, white privilege.
I'm just so glad that Donald Trump is doing the important work of renaming federal holidays so that we can continue to uplift and center racist and rapist. It makes, it's always like the cherry on top of the white supremacist sundae is what Donald Trump offers. But at least he's starting off telling the truth. And I guess, you do that every once in your 79-year life. But Donald Trump, most recently, I don't know why he was talking about getting into heaven, but he said what we all already know. You're definitely knocking on heaven's door, but ain't nobody going to answer.
You had talked a couple weeks ago, you were doing an interview, and you talked about how you hope to end the war in Ukraine because it might help you get into heaven. How does this help? Does this help?
I mean, I'm being a little cute. I don't think there's anything going to get me in heaven. Okay, I really don't. I think I'm not maybe heaven bound. I may be in heaven right now as we fly in Air Force One. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to make heaven, but
You're definitely not making heaven.
It's the most honest he's been. I think sometimes when you get this cankled and this corrupt and have these much infusions of latex, it brings about what you call a moment of clarity. And it's a really remarkable thing for anyone to say, especially a president whose base is white evangelical Christians. And, he said, I'm being a little kid, but he probably realizes this is like, he goes, I'm all up in the Epstein files. This is a man who said his personal in Vietnam was not getting an STD. This is a man who's been accused by 24 women of sexual assault. This is a man who's been held liable for sexually assaulting E. Jean Carroll and also defaming her. This is a person who literally has defrauded people. He set up a university and a charity to defraud people. And this is not just Letitia James and their civil fraud. This was him like, he's like, okay, I probably did something wrong. Let me just settle. Folks, this is the most honest Donald Trump has ever been, probably by accident. Yep. And his base has his base of reeks would probably say, oh, no, he's just joking. But it is a remarkable thing to say. Just think about that, Danielle. He goes, yeah, probably not getting into heaven. And then my follow-up question would be, well, why, Donald Trump? What have you done in your life? Right. What would make you say that, even in a cheeky manner? And also, have you repented? Because I remember the last time they asked you, when you asked for forgiveness, he goes, I don't do that. I don't think I need to do that because I haven't done anything wrong. Remember that from the first Trump administration? Do you atone? Do you repent? Do you ever ask God for forgiveness? No. So as he nears the end, Danielle, we saw a glimpse.
I love that when you say as he nears the end, and I'm like, the end of what? The end of his term, the end of this life, the end of this bullshit facade that we call American democracy. Like what? What are we all hoping for?
He is the oldest man to be elected. Yes. He does not look well. That being said, God seems to keep alive the worst people on earth forever.
Let me tell you.
However, he does not look well, Danielle. And they're talking about the third term. We're going to talk about Israel and the third term and about all of it.
Yeah.
He's not well. He ain't healthy. He can't hide the whatever drips he's getting. By the way, he did another checkup at Walter Reed. He already had one, by the way, folks.
Yes.
And at that checkup, he of course got
tell them what Donald Trump got at his checkup.
He got a COVID booster at his checkup, while his Director of Health and Human Services, RFK, is going against vaccines. So vaccines for me, no vaccine for thee. Masks for me, no mask for thee. Healthcare for me, no healthcare for thee. This is the Republican way. Probably why he ain't going to heaven, never ever.
So here's the funny thing about the trip to Walter Reed Hospital is that they had to cover it up. Right. So what they tried to say initially is that he was going to Walter Reed Hospital again for his annual checkup. But what they forgot, because they're fucking idiots, is that they had already done his yearly checkup in April of 2025.
Yep.
You don't do two in less than 6 months annual checkups. It's called annual because it's yearly. I know that you may not know that. And so the fact is, when they're asked, like, so then what was Donald Trump going for? Oh, he got a COVID booster and a flu boost. I'm sorry. Wait, what? He got a booster for an illness that doesn't exist, that we all made up in our minds? What, like, was it done by Fisher Price? Was it just air that went into his veins? I'm confused.
Yeah, and also the fact is, does now Bill Gates control him? Because I heard that Bill Gates,
Microsoft chips.
Yeah. So now he's controlled. Who is he controlled by? Is he controlled by big tech? Is he controlled by the deep state? And then you saw these Republican reeks say, "Look at our strong bison of a man. Look how healthy he is." You cannot negotiate with a cult, because these are the same people who literally have spent the past few years, like right now, as we speak, we're going to give you some examples of how RFK is promoting some of the most dangerous conspiracies. Donald Trump is doing it with him because he goes, "It plays well." About Tylenol. People are going to die. People are not going to get vaccines. People are not going to use Tylenol, right? They're trying to create evidence that doesn't exist because Tylenol or vaccines have anything to do with autism, but doesn't matter. You have RFK, the man with brainworms, who's a complete freak, as the head of HHS. Literally, vaccine hesitancy has gone up. Now, 1 in 6 Americans, folks, one in 6 parents do not give their kids vaccines. Measles now has skyrocketed.
We'll get there.
In South Carolina, right? But this mother effort, like, just to show you how terrible these people are, this mother effort is like, I got a COVID booster. And I think they forgot. We probably shouldn't have mentioned that to their base. And then the base was like, let's just ignore that inconvenient fact and hypocrisy that our king and daddy got a COVID booster, as we tell you all not to get COVID boosters. These are the worst people on earth.
It's I mean, the hypocrisy of it. But what was really funny, and I just posted this from our friends in the chat, is that they're like, Donald Trump could have gotten the COVID booster at the White House infirmary. Donald Trump did not need to go to Walter Reed Hospital to go get a flu shot and a COVID booster. Like, so that is just again a good reminder, because we're all like, oh, well, you know, what is he going there for? Well, the fact is, he's clearly going to that hospital for things that cannot be done inside of the White House. Otherwise, they would have kept it quiet. So very good reminder from our friends in the chat that are like, yeah, you didn't need to leave the White House to go to Walter Reed for a flu and COVID shot.
He's not well. He's not well. And there is something, because he's been talking about like heaven and the afterlife and this and that a lot the last couple of months. I think drip, drip, drip. There are these moments of clarity where he realizes he might not have much time left. Danielle, I know I might be reading too much into it, but he isn't well. He is not the same man he was. He literally falls asleep in public all the time. His face, have you noticed, twice now in public droops like this for several minutes?
He slurs when he speaks. So, I mean, that clearly signs of neurological deterioration. And this man is leading the country. So let's move on. Because I think that this is important news that, to me, is, again, showing you who the Republican Party is. So the Wall Street Journal, friends, has reported that Ghislaine Maxwell had a meeting with an unknown person in her new prison camp, during which the entire prison was on lockdown. Inmates say she's getting unusually favorable treatment by the prison. And I just want to give this, and Waj, I'll turn it over to you.
No.
On a weekend in mid-August, hundreds of inmates at minimum security prison in Bryan, Texas, were locked down during an unusual time for strolling the grassy campus and visiting with family and friends. All except one, Ghislaine Maxwell, the 63-year-old associate of Jeffrey Epstein, convicted for her role in helping him sexually abuse underage girls, because she's a what? Pedophile.
Yep.
While her fellow inmates were confined to their dormitories after breakfast, Maxwell met with several visitors in the federal prison camp's chapel, according to people familiar with the matter. Less than 3 weeks earlier, the Justice Department had moved Maxwell to federal prison Camp Bryan from a higher security facility in Tallahassee, Florida. So now Not only has she been moved, Waj, after the meeting with the Department of Justice, she's now having visitors. She gets special treatment. And there are rumors that she is getting meal delivery. She is getting special visitors that are not being logged that we don't know about. And all of this comes after she met with Donald Trump's Department of Justice and said, oh, Trump had nothing to do with the Epstein files. I don't even know who you're talking about. And then now she's at Club Fed. You explain it to us.
This is why he's not going to heaven, because this is a man who allegedly is all up in the Epstein files and allegedly chased girls with Jeffrey Epstein and allegedly raped and or molested and or had sex with these girls. And he knows that he's screwed. Pam Bondi knows he's screwed. And Republicans, according to Eric Swalwell, know that if the Epstein files ever come out, Donald Trump, and not just Donald Trump, but the entirety of the GOP falls down, because over 75% of Americans, regardless if you're independent or MAGA or conservative or Democrats, all agree on one thing and one thing only in this seventh level of hell that we live in, Danielle. Release the Epstein files. And I just said today, hey, Donald Trump, release the Israeli hostages. Let's give him all the credit. Sure. Now it's time to release the Epstein files, but he won't. He won't, because the Wall Street Journal said that in May, Pam Bondi informed Donald Trump he's all up in the files. And the Wall Street Journal, that article that you just, that article is a Wall Street Journal article. If you notice, drip, 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 it's the right wing. It's the Wall Street Journal that talked about that notebook. It's the Wall Street Journal that said Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. It's the Wall Street Journal that talked about Ghislaine Maxwell getting special treatment. And then last week, folks, we wanted to highlight for you that when Donald Trump was asked, hey, you're not going to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, are you? He goes, Ghislaine, who's that? I haven't heard that name in a long time. He didn't say no. He also didn't say no to using the Insurrection Act. And furthermore, this sweetheart deal to this day has never, ever, ever been explained. Why, oh, why did Ghislaine Maxwell, who was serving a 20-year sentence, whom we know groomed women, solicited women, according to the women themselves, girls, raped these girls along with Jeffrey Epstein. Why did she move from a Florida prison to a minimum security camp where she can practice yoga, where she gets an unidentified visitor who is high profile, where the rest of the inmates have to clean up the prison allegedly for this unidentified visitor? Who is the unidentified visitor? Why is she getting these perks? What was discussed with her and Todd Blanche, like less than a week after Todd Blanche, Donald Trump's personal attorney, went to go talk to her? Why did she get moved? How come her status was altered to get her the clearance to be moved? And the only other time that I can see a sweetheart deal like this was Alex Acosta and Jeffrey Epstein in 2009, when he got a sweetheart deal where he was allowed to stay out of prison for about 6 out of the 7 days of the year, of the week, only served about a year, and then went back to his merry old ways of raping folks. And then we found out also in the files that Bannon, Peter Thiel, and Elon Musk were in these files in the sense that they had meetings with and or wanted to meet and or did meet Epstein after the fact, around 2014, 2015. All of this stuff is going to come out, Danielle, because the women themselves have said that if Congress doesn't release these files, we're going to name names. And furthermore, folks,
I just want to say this very quickly.
Please.
Very quickly. Because what frustrates me is that I'm so tired of people saying, we're going to do this. We're going to just fucking do it. Like, you're waiting on Congress to do what? Exactly. Right? What they've been doing. I know that we're waiting on Adelita Grijalva.
There you go. That's what I wanted to say.
To be sworn in for the 218th vote for the discharge petition. But we are in our 13th day of the government shutdown. Mike Johnson has no plans to induct her, right? To swear her in until Congress is back in session. And so we keep hearing these things and we keep hearing this drip, drip, drip. And I'm just saying, just do it, right? Like, just do it. Release the names, release it, call a press conference, put it out there, and let Congress catch up to where the victims have been. Instead of waiting, instead of slowing yourself down, right? Like, move with the cycle, create the news cycle, create the story, say what needs to be said. Because at the end of the day, I don't think that any of this actually matters. I don't think that even if the files are released, I don't think that anything is going to happen to Donald Trump. I don't think that anything is going to happen to Ghislaine Maxwell other than a pardon. But what I want to say is that while this administration is beating, killing, and kidnapping undocumented people, kidnapping, beating Black American citizens, while all of this is happening, they are full throttle protecting pedophiles inside of this party.
That's right.
Donald Trump being at the top of that pedophilia pyramid. And this is like, that needs to be the consistent narrative. While workers, fathers, mothers, cousins are being picked up and dying and being forced to drink water off of a floor, given spoiled food or no food at all, being mistreated. 20 people have died in ICE. Who is being protected? Who is being lifted up? A pedophile. So that is the thing to me that I just don't want to be lost in all of this.
I always try to bring it back to the Epstein files. We've mentioned this on the show, not only because it's important for accountability and justice for these girls who were raped, also because there are other men there, as we know, who are complicit, and we'll find out. And like Danielle and I have said, I don't care if it's Democrats in there. Any man, if it was proven that was complicit in raping these girls, go to hell, literally and figuratively, right? I don't care. You need accountability. And also, this is the political weakness of Donald Trump. This is where we're at, Danielle, where he can lie about everything. He can abuse women. No one cares. He can incite a violent insurrection. He can lie to us about COVID. He can appoint the most incompetent people who are literally killing us. And people are like, nobody's perfect. But this is the one issue where even it's his base. Danielle, the only reason this is in the news is because it's the right wing leading it. Let's be honest, yes. Right? And this is the one issue where you're like, I really tweeted this. You could tweet this or post this. It's a gift from me to you because I think it'll work. It goes back to Danielle's point. Hey, Republicans, Donald Trump helped release the Israeli hostages. Now you can release the Epstein files, right? Let's do it. Bring it back in the news every day around everything, right? Republicans, please. The majority of Americans blame you for shutting down the government. Restart the government. And if you can't, can you please swear in Adelita Grijalva, who will give you the 218th vote, to release the Epstein files, right? Oh, by the way, why did Donald Trump say Ghislaine Maxwell might or might not be pardoned? Is he going to pardon her? Why would he pardon a rapist? By the way, who was the unidentified visitor who visited Ghislaine Maxwell? We still don't know. The high-profile visitor. Who was it? Can we find out? I say you keep it up nonstop, drip, 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 drip.
150%. And I'll say this because I want to go back to a point that you made, and then we'll move on to JD Vance and what he did over the weekend. But what I want to say is that when we are looking at all of this and we're breaking it down, right? And again, I keep thinking to myself, how much has been brought out around Donald Trump? How many indictments? How many things are we waiting for? We keep saying it's going to be the breaking point. But one of the things that you mentioned were the right wing. The only reason why we are getting these stories is because it is coming from the right wing, which Donald Trump radicalized through his lies about pedophiles inside of the Democratic Party, the deep state, and all of these things. And so I was on MSNBC last night, and I was asked a question about Marjorie Taylor Greene, because Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing a tour de force right now, folks. And she is on CNN. She is on various moderate news outlets and places, calling out this administration, calling out the fact that they won't release the Epstein files and they're protecting pedophiles, calling out what is happening with the funding to Israel, et cetera, et cetera. And I was asked, Danielle, what do you make of this, this pivot. If you listen, and they played a clip, Marjorie Taylor Greene, they're like, if you listen to this and you knew nothing of her, you would think that she's a moderate right now, a moderate Democrat. Which is insane. This is a woman that talked about Jewish space lasers. This is a woman who followed David Hogg, who was a victim from Parkland with a toy gun around Capitol Hill. This is somebody who is absolutely and totally vile. And right now, I've played more clips of her on my show than I think I've ever had before. And they said, "What do you make of it?" And I said, Marjorie Taylor Greene knows where the wind is blowing. Why?
There you go.
She knows exactly where the wind is blowing. She is an opportunist. She is setting herself up for a post-Trump America, and she wants to be at the top of the power heap. And I want folks to understand, because Marjorie Taylor Greene was the one that told us before American mainstream media and before the GOP wanted to admit that she was not the fringe. She was the mainstream of the party. And then all of a sudden, a year or so later, the entire party is radicalized in the image, in the wording, in the conspiracy theories of Marjorie Taylor Greene. So now you are watching her and others, right? Candace Owens and Joe Rogan and other folks make this pivot because they know that Donald Trump is not as powerful as he once was, that he is weak, and that the party does not survive without him. So they are making this pivot. Why? Because they are opportunists. And I'm telling you, she knows where the wind is blowing. What do you think?
Absolutely. I've been saying it since last week. And by the way, Elizabeth, not governor. I think she'll make a run for president.
I think so.
And we talked about this last week on the show. I have the proof. My first piece for the Daily Beast when I was a columnist from 4 years ago, I said Marjorie Taylor Greene is the present and future of the Republican Party. And all these individuals in DC, New York, who get paid a lot more than me and mock me and Danielle as being hysterical, and they're wrong all the time, but they still get paid a lot more. But we end up being right with our batting average, is that she is the present and future of the party. She realizes canceled commander-in-chief ain't going to last for long. She realizes mascara-wearing J.D. Vance, a man who loves couches, they don't respect him. The base doesn't respect him. They realize that Russell Vought is a bureaucrat. She realizes that the base is moving towards America First, which is nationalist, anti-immigrant, and also anti-Israel. She realizes there's two big Achilles cankles for the modern GOP, which is the embrace of Netanyahu in Israel. She's all up against it. Also, there's anti-Semitism. And furthermore, she realizes the Epstein files has radicalized the base, and she wants it released. And she realizes eventually, when more and more names are released, Donald Trump and the MAGA base is going to be all up in it. And then the third thing she realizes is Trump and Republicans are effing up the economy. And at the end of the day, the way to win over a whole bunch of young people, like her kids, right? She keeps talking about her kids are in their 20s. Yep. They don't care anymore about Democratic, Socialist, Republican, MAGA. These words don't matter. They want anyone who's going to be like, can you please make life affordable? Can you reduce the price of groceries and meat? Beef right now is an all-time high. Can I actually afford healthcare? Which is why she's making this pitch to win over a lot of these folks. And she's doing the same kind of playbook that Mamdani, Bernie, AOC, and Trump did, anti-establishment. So she'll moderate on some economic issues. Yep. She'll join the Democrats when it comes to criticizing Israel and the genocide.
Yep.
And she'll join the majority when she's going to say release the Epstein files. And she is making a move, folks. She's making a move. And I'm telling you, do not underestimate Marjorie Taylor Greene. She knows the base. The base is much more like Marjorie Taylor Greene than Russell Vought or Stephen Miller. That's my take.
I'm telling you, I think that this move is, and we've been saying this for months. This move is one of the biggest fractures that is going to happen inside of the Republican Party. Folks, that does not mean that we're saying that tomorrow everything is going to crumble and break and that, all will be well and the sky will open up and rainbows will come shooting out. No. But the fact of the matter is that Marjorie Taylor Greene is a bellwether for where the Republican Party goes. And what they have stopped doing, I believe, J.D. Vance, Donald Trump, Stephen Miller, they've stopped listening to the base. They don't care. Remember, Donald Trump said, if you vote for me this time, you don't need to vote again. They are making their fascist push. If that push is unsuccessful because of what we are seeing happen in the courts, because what we are seeing happen on the ground, and we just next weekend is the No Kings rally, which I believe is going to be wildly historic.
Yeah.
That when we see all of this happen, if they're unable to successfully make their push and people still have the ability to vote, guess where the base is going? Not with the Trump administration.
Nope.
Not when we are seeing our military line up in their uniforms at food pantries trying to get food, right? In record
Can you talk about that real quick?
That we haven't seen. Yes. So in the last couple of days, right? This is going to be today is the 13th. The 15th is when the military is supposed to be paid. Don't ask me why they're paid on the 15th. I have no idea. But the fact is that I think it was USA Today, one of the major like mainstream outlets. They went to a local food bank. See all of these military men in their fatigues, standing in line at food pantries. What I'm so grateful for is that they're doing it in their uniform. That's what I'm grateful for, because otherwise you wouldn't know the difference, right? It would just be, guys lined up at a pantry. The fact that they are doing it in their uniform lets us know how hard hit these people are, that you can't miss a check, right? And with this government shutdown is in its 13th day. So I'm telling you, Marjorie Taylor Greene, while everyone else is not paying attention to the base, while they have turned their backs on the very people that got them into office, even though I believe that they did not get there on their own, she's paying attention. Watch Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's what I'm saying. Because who is...
I'd say watch Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, and Candace Owens. Watch those three. And if you can watch those three and how they triangulate, you will see where MAGA and the future of the GOP is going right now. And folks, it is slowly but surely, even though they don't say it publicly, it is slowly but surely pivoting away from Trump. They just don't mention Trump. Notice Marjorie Taylor Greene threw Mike Johnson under the bus. Marjorie Taylor Greene blamed Mike Johnson for the shutdown. She blamed her own party for the shutdown. Candace Owens mocks and ridicules Kash Patel and Pam Bondi. Candace Owens, in a viral clip, said that anyone who buys that Trump and Kushner real estate on Gaza will be cursed for life. Their children will be cursed. Generations will be cursed because it belongs to Palestinian people. Tucker Carlson now regrets being a cheerleader for the 9/11 war, believes in America first, says anyone who cracks down on hate speech laws, next thing they're going to tell you is what you can think and what you can say, and that's when people should be on the streets. I'm telling you, folks, people think me and Danielle are crazy. Our batting average compared to our very overpaid, very respected colleagues, I don't think they consider us colleagues in New York and DC. It would put us in the all-star game, right? So pay attention to those folks, not to this guy. This guy is a guy who desperately thinks he's the chosen one. He's like Rodimus Prime. After Optimus Prime died, he goes, choose me. I have the Matrix. And people are like, no, we want Optimus. You're Rodimus, which is, by the way, an exquisite 1986 pop cultural reference I'm making that I know that Daniel's like, what the hell are you talking about?
I actually have no idea what you're talking about, but...
So what happened was, okay, real quick. In 1986, the show Transformers, the cartoon, Optimus Prime was the guy, still the guy. They killed Optimus. I saw it in the movie theater. I think I cried. And then they gave the leadership to this guy called Rodimus Prime, this new guy. Rodimus Prime, and they tried to make Rodimus Prime into a thing, Danielle, right? All of us were like, F Rodimus Prime, he's lame as hell, bring back Optimus. So for 1 year, it was Rodimus Prime. He goes, I'm like Optimus, I'm the leader. And everyone's like, you suck, you're lame. You're the one who killed Optimus Prime, get out of here. And then what they did was they're like, oh shit, we've lost the kids, bring back Optimus Prime. So this to me is Rodimus Prime. He's trying to be a thing that he will never be with mascara, and it won't work. Someone understands me.
So there are several people in the chat that have called you a nerd. That
Look, they know.
but
They know.
in a loving way, because they're so excited about.
Should have been
breakdown.
Ultra Magnus. That's right.
I love the fact that you are not alone.
Look at this. Look at this. I see you and you see me.
Oh God, that's good. Okay, so I'll say this. JD Vance is on ABC over the weekend with Stephanopoulos. And apparently, Stephanopoulos has run out of fucks to give. His company already betrayed him and gave Donald Trump $16 million to a library we will never see, because he factually referred to him as an alleged rapist, which he is.
Yep.
And so now JD Vance goes on, and Stephanopoulos is just like, I'm going to ask you this question 3 times. And he let JD Vance lie once, lie twice, and then he followed up again. And after that, he was just like, and we're wrapping this up. Because, so y'all, look, had media, I will say this, had media done what he did yesterday for the last 10 years, we wouldn't be here.
Nope.
So let me pull this up, because I tell you that JD Vance gets on my fucking nerves, as he does everybody else.
I saw media reports that Tom Homan accepted a bribe. There's no evidence of that. And here's, George, why fewer and fewer people watch your program and why you're losing credibility. Because you're talking for now 5 minutes with the Vice President of the United States about this story regarding Tom Homan, a story that I've read about, but I don't even know the video that you're talking about. Meanwhile, low-income women can't get food because the Democrats and Chuck Schumer have shut down the government. Right now, we're trying to figure out how to pay our troops because Chuck Schumer has shut down the government. You're focused on a bogus story. You're insinuating criminal wrongdoing against a guy who has done nothing wrong, instead of focusing on the fact that our country is struggling because our government's shut down. Let's talk about the real issues, George. I think the American people would benefit much more from that than from you going down some weird left-wing rabbit hole where the facts clearly show that Tom Homan didn't engage in any criminal wrongdoing.
It's not a weird left-wing rabbit hole. I didn't insinuate anything. I asked you whether Tom Homan accepted $50,000, as was heard on an audio tape recorded by the FBI in September 2024, and you did not answer the question. Thank you for your time this morning.
No, George, I said that I don't.
Up next, we'll be right back.
That's dope.
You know,
should have been like this for 10 years.
It should have been like that for 10 years. And so, look, and the fact, and so here is how stupid. I mean, JD Vance doesn't need help looking dumb, but here's how stupid he looks, is that you're going on this. So if in fact George Stephanopoulos' show is failing, then why the fuck are you going on?
Exactly.
Why are you going on his show? If it's failing and nobody's watching him and all of these things, then why are you, as the Vice President of the United States, wasting your time with down viewership? It makes absolutely no sense. But the fact is, you went on there to continue to perpetrate a lie that we know is an absolute lie. It's caught on video. It's caught on tape. We know that he took the money. Both him and Pam Bondi being asked the same questions in the same fucking week, and the both of them look like idiots, because we know that they are covering everything up. And so, look, this is the most corrupt, dysfunctional fucking government that we have ever seen, that we have ever witnessed, and it is destroying America. And we are beyond our breaking point at this stage.
And can we go back real quick 1 second? For those who don't know what we're talking about, Tom Homan is the border czar. He's concrete in human form, cruel. He's the border czar for Donald Trump. In September, when Joe Biden was president, there was an FBI sting operation that literally, I'm using the word literally as it's meant to be used, caught him on tape accepting bribes in the form of $50,000 worth of cash in a kava bag. They got him. It's the FBI sting operation. Laura Ingraham asked him about it on Fox News, and he said, I did nothing wrong. When Pam Bondi was asked in front of the Senate last week, where is the money? Did the money get returned? She refused to answer, and she went to her canned diss talking points against, Durbin and others, White House. So that means Tom Homan, our border czar, literally accepted bribes in an FBI sting operation. No one knows where the money is. And furthermore,
It's
this
in his fucking
DOJ,
bank account. People know where the money is. It's in his bank account.
it's already spent. But Pam Bondi is tweeting, projecting all weekend. I don't know if you saw, we're going after criminals, this and that. To which I responded to her on Twitter, great. Where's Tom Homan's $50,000? And now this has become another massive talking point that you should not forget. Where is Tom Homan's $50,000? Because as they're cracking friggin' black and brown skulls, zip tying kids, shooting pepper balls at unarmed priests, you have to ask yourself and ask this administration, oh, you're tough on crime? Why did Tom Homan get $50,000 in a bribe? Where's the money? Why did Ghislaine Maxwell get transferred to a minimum security prison? And how come we're not releasing the Epstein files?
Yeah. And so here we go with the
more lies,
insurrectionist in chief, the liar in chief. So apparently, on top of the deterioration that we spoke about at the top of the show with Donald Trump and his slurred speech and going to Walter Reed, he's also on his broke down social media platform talking that about Biden placing 274 agents into the crowd on January 6th. Who was the president on January 6th? Anyone? January 6th, 2021. It was Donald Trump. Who ran the FBI during the insurrection? Donald Trump. Who did not call in the National Guard for police officers being beaten by his supporters? Donald Trump. But Donald Trump, for some reason, thinks that everyone is suffering from some type of mental psychosis in the way that he is, because he's putting this shit out into the universe. And then we're all supposed to what? Not realize that he is absolutely losing his ever-loving fucking mind?
It does. You know what we're witnessing is more and more desperation. And I think all of this is desperate. Look, all of this works for the base, folks, but the base isn't the majority. And what we always needed for the past 10 years was for the majority, and especially those with privilege and power like George Stephanopoulos, to stop bending the knee and call out the bullshit. But what they did is they were complicit with it. I want to remind you of this quote. It is such a cynical, disgusting, but accurate reflection of America. Les Moonves, when he was the head of CBS in 2015, it was a public event for media. And he said, Donald Trump might be bad for America, but he's great for CBS.
Yeah.
And then Zucker, who helped make Donald Trump into a thing during their time at The Apprentice, used to coordinate with Donald Trump while Zucker was the head of CNN, thinking about like how they could help each other. And then when asked by Ben Smith, do you regret in the creation of this monster that turned on your own employees? Remember, Cesar Sayoc is in jail right now because he tried to like send pipe bombs to CNN commentators. I think Don Lemon was one of them. Zucker said, no, it was worth it. So these people were complicit in the creation and the mainstreaming of Donald Trump, the creation of this Frankenstein monster. And now I think, Danielle, I do think they sense where the wind is blowing. No King's rally. Oh, a majority of Americans blame Republicans for the shutdown. Majority of Americans are against ICE overreach. He's negative on the economy. He's negative on inflation. He's negative on immigration now. Oh, overwhelming majority of Americans want to release the Epstein files. Oh, shit. I think he'll never release the Epstein files. He's compromised and he's old. Now you're seeing small little, like, sparkles of resistance. But at the same time, I think we should call out the fact that all of them were complicit.
All of them were complicit. And this is where we are right now. Just so everyone recognizes, the CDC has been fully and completely gutted. Everyone is gone. All of the high-ranking scientists, the researchers, the doctors, they're all gone. If the United States gets hit by another pandemic, we are not prepared. Not only are we not prepared, and did 1 million people die because Donald Trump refused to tell them to put on a fucking mask, now there is no one. There is no one to even step up to the microphone. And people are going to die because this administration has weaponized your healthcare. So, real life consequences. This is a 4-year-old little boy. His heart is failing. a federal grant that might help him was canceled. So what do you think is going to happen to this 4-year-old boy? Is this the only story? No. I love what Tim Snyder says here. History gives us plenty of examples of disease used as a weapon. There are fewer cases of governments deliberately using disease against their own citizens. We are living, or rather dying, through one right now. And they break this down. Hundreds of U.S. students today quarantined amid measles outbreak. At least 270 unvaccinated kids are staying home from school as measles continue to spread nationwide. A bubbling measles outbreak, folks, is happening right now in upstate South Carolina, has forced 153, pay attention, unvaccinated children out of the classroom and into quarantine for 21 days. In Minnesota, where a small outbreak has been fastly growing, right? Has been fastly growing for the last 18 months. 118 students are also under quarantine in Minneapolis, St. Paul area after being exposed to the highly contagious virus. That happened on Friday. So listen to the domino effect here. The restrictions mean 3 weeks of remote learning as parents monitor for fever, rash, and other symptoms. Do these parents have jobs that they probably need to get to? But because they have refused to vaccinate their children, they have caused an absolute outbreak. And why have they refused to vaccinate their children in these large numbers? Oh, because over the last 5 years, the GOP has been lying to them, spreading conspiracy theories, spreading lies that are literally killing children. So here's
and Danielle, bring it back full circle. Who just got a COVID booster?
Donald Trump. So communities are having to bear the price of quarantining so many children, says Michael Osterholm, an infectious disease expert and director of the Center for Infectious Disease Research and Policy at the University of Minnesota. Expect more of the same. This is going to happen more and more frequently. God bless people like yourself, Waj, who have children that you are sending to school. Inshallah, they are vaccinated. But the fact is that what's going to happen when you have this amount of people that are unvaccinated, much like we watched during COVID, folks, all of these things begin to mutate. They begin to create new strands. That's what happens. That's why you have vaccinations. That's why we have protocols. And now we've lost that all.
Can I go back to Dr. Neil Stone? I was looking at he's a good resource. Another tweet he did yesterday, and I hope he's wrong. He said, the same man who did this tweet said, there's going to be another pandemic. Bank on it. And I hope he's wrong, but folks, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? And oh yeah, F them kids too. There's more F them kids, but continue, Danielle. Sorry, I just wanted to say that.
No, because I think that it's important. It's not about if there's going to be another pandemic. It's about when there is going to be another pandemic, folks. And like, it isn't just, whatever conspiracy theory that was put out that was about labs and this, that, and the other thing. Let me just bring something else into focus. Climate change. The fact is that glaciers melting, areas becoming hotter, you become more infested with different types of insects like mosquitoes that do what? Carry blood around with them, bite and attack other people. There are going to be diseases that are going to spread because of climate change, because of temperatures being too hot, because of kinds of insects and different issues that spread that we have never had before. Because of what is happening. So it is not about if another pandemic will happen in our lifetime. It is about when. And exactly, Lynette,
New diseases.
New diseases that we know nothing about. And because we have gutted research and science and fact and truth, we are going to be left vulnerable. And like Joanna just said, because I believe that this is true, it is a purge.
Yeah.
These
Eugenics.
are the same people that believe in eugenics. They believe that some people just shouldn't exist. And they are trying to accelerate that process. And speaking of which, because again, all of this is connected. What did they just do recently with the Department of Education? Folks, they have just gutted the departments that deal with special education for children with disabilities. The education department wipes out special ed offices in shutdown layoffs. Who does this affect? They have fired nearly everyone in the Office of Special Education and Rehabilitative Services in a wave of new layoffs that began on Friday, according to the union representing agency employees. Without an official estimate from the agency, it isn't immediately clear how many people in the division were fired. They don't know yet. Yet, based on reports from staff and their managers, most employees below the leadership level were part of the workforce reduction. Separately, employees involved in the college access program, known as TRIO, which is located in a different office, were also let go.
Yep.
So, folks, this is an entire and complete and total gutting of our education system, gutting of our healthcare system. What do you think comes of all of this? And in the meantime, that they're telling you that they don't have any money, run the receipts for them, Waj.
Oh, well, we just had a quid pro quo for Donald Trump. Now we're going to have an Air Force base in Idaho run by Qatar, or in joint association with Qatar, the same country that Donald Trump 8 years ago accused of funding terrorism. And then Donald Trump in return gets a $400 million luxury private jet and a $5.5 billion resort in Qatar. In Argentina, because the president of Argentina is another corrupt friend of Donald Trump, we, the United States of America, your taxpayer dollars, just gave him a $20 billion bailout, and he used that money to throw a rock concert. Can't make that shit up. SpaceX gets all the money it needs, $5.9 billion, deregulation, Elon Musk getting rid of all the people who find him. That's when there was the initial purge of the FAA. Larry Ellison says, hey, I want to control TikTok. Let's make this go through. Like, okay, Larry Ellison, on and off again, the world's richest man, the single largest donor to the IDF, a hard right pro-Zionist Trumper. You get TikTok. And right now he's making a bid for Warner Brothers Discovery. Warner Brothers Discovery also owns CNN and
HBO.
His Nepo baby son, David Ellison, owns Paramount and CBS, where they just brought in Barry Weiss. And they were able to give a $16 million bribe to Donald Trump. And the average Jose is like, I lost my job. My wife has cancer. Can we get Medicaid? No, you can't. Premiums are going to go up. They're going to skyrocket. And right now we have this pro-eugenics death cult. Folks, we've talked about it. Just listen to them. Listen to the people that they follow. People like Curtis Yarvin, the philosopher of Peter Thiel and J.D. Vance, a man who said, non-productive people should be turned into like a type of Soylent Green, type of a biodiesel fuel. RFK and Elon Musk talking about, unproductive people, the way RFK talks about autistic people, the way he wants a registry for them. They want a culling. You know who else believed in a culling and eugenics? Nazis. Nazis did. And they used to put people who are disabled or unproductive, artistic in a list. And they used to put that list and have that list then, go and get all these people and then disappear them. And how do we get a list of people? We have Palantir, Peter Thiel's friggin' surveillance state that has billions of dollars of contracts with this government and governments around the world to create a surveillance state. And by the way, Palantir is also working with, wait for it, ICE to go after immigrants. Folks, this is who they are. This is a death cult. I've been saying this for almost 8-9 years, and people got pissed off at me. I said the GOP is a pro death cult. They are more extreme than the most extreme right-wing parties all around the world, because even the right-wing parties around the world aren't this cruel, Danielle, to raise healthcare premiums of their own base. This is who they are. And why should we deal with them? Why should we take them seriously? Why should we don't owe them anything? We're going to talk about Israel-Palestine for a second. We're going to talk about it in a second, excuse me. But MAGA's big mad because the world isn't giving them credit. And I'm done with this game. I don't play rigged games. I don't believe in toxic relationships. I believe relationships require reciprocity. If they give us nothing but cruelty, but demand civility, why should we give them civility? And I think you see George Stephanopoulos and a few of these people finally, a little break is happening, Daniel.
I mean, a little break, because this is what is meeting us on the other side. Steve Bannon. I think that there are many different alternatives after the midterms in 2026 that we will roll out to make sure that Trump is on the ballot. And if he's on the ballot, he'll win. Folks, everything is part of the larger setup here for complete and total domination and annihilation of all of those who they believe do not deserve to live, to exist, which are Black and brown people, which are people with disability, which are people that are trans, which are people that are that are queer, which are feminists, which are people that have critical thinking, which are people who are Muslim. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. Right? And then when they're the only ones left, it will be like that Spider-Man meme where they're pointing fingers at each other. Right? So, folks,
and also the bailouts to the farmers. There's going to be bailouts to the farmers because he effed the soy farmers. And now with the 100% tariffs on China, it's going to get worse. China responded to the trade war by saying, all right, we used to buy our soy from America, but not anymore. We're going to go buy it from Brazil and Argentina. These white soy farmers, these Trumpers now are killing themselves. So what's going to happen? Same thing that happened in the first Trump administration, a bailout for his voters and farmers, more money going to these farmers, but it won't be enough. They'll need another bailout. So we're just bailing out all of Donald Trump's friends. Then you have
telling you, I don't think he's going to bail out the farmers.
You think they're going to die? And then, by the way,
I don't.
Big beautiful bill is going to go into effect during the midterms. $1 trillion cuts to Medicaid.
I don't think that he's going to bail them out, and the reason is because you're just essentially you're throwing money away, because the soy business is not coming back. It's not, the soybean business is not coming back to the United States. China has already figured out getting their resources that they need from South America. It's not coming back. And Donald Trump just keeps on adding more and more tariffs. You have Germany now, who has stopped the largest steel operators and creators in Germany have decided this week to stop shipping their products to the United States because of the tariffs. So all of this comes on the heels, and I'm skipping ahead because I think it's important to wrap up with this before we head out today, which is currently the ceasefire that is happening in Gaza. And Waj laughs because we both know that it is utter and complete bullshit. That
Trump's in Israel right now, Knesset, taking photos. Everyone's applauding him.
Right. But why don't you tell them exactly what is going to happen? I talked about it last week with the ambassador from Israel, who was just like, yeah, we don't really care about this ceasefire. They are up for complete and total annihilation. And now that they got 20 hostages back, and sadly, 4 bodies being delivered back to families, 20 hostages alive, 4 bodies being delivered back. What did they say? The defense minister?
Israel's great challenge after the phase of returning the hostages will be the destruction of all of Hamas's terror tunnels in Gaza, directly by the IDF and through the international mechanism to be established under the leadership and supervision of the United States. And then you have Smotrich and others openly saying, yeah, after we get the hostages back, we're going to finish the deal. And the deal is, as we all know, because they've actually said it, by they I mean the extremist regime led by war criminal Netanyahu, is full conquering from the river to the sea. Everything. The security cabinet has already voted on doing what? Israel controlling Gaza City and then moving the Palestinian people. As of now, they have what? Control 60% of Gaza. They're not going to stop. And if Netanyahu actually does stop, he's going to lose his fragile coalition, because his fragile coalition is populated by Jewish supremacists, actual Jewish fascists, not their words, not my words, their words. Smotrich said, I'm a proud Jewish fascist. He's the finance minister. You have people like Ben Gvir, a man who's so extreme, it's as if we had a member of the KKK, a Klan leader in our government, right? So they have already telegraphed to the world and to Israel their plans to take everything. And furthermore, the 20-point peace plan is super vague, bypasses the Palestinians, doesn't mention the West Bank, has no pathway towards self-determination, and is so vague, especially I think point 16, that, if Hamas does not abide by the deal, then, all bets are off. It's super vague, and you're already seeing it now. They're saying Hamas didn't abide by the deals. They gave us back 4 bodies, and then it allows Israel to renege unilaterally on the deal and then continue its plan, which the Israeli security defense minister literally tweeted out, mention it, right? So, folks, all this is theater. Donald Trump, the good news is 20 living hostages have come back. About 2,000 Palestinians have been released from Israeli prisons. However, there's no peace. No mention of the West Bank, no mention of the settlements, no mention of the apartheid conditions, no mention of what's going to happen to, humanitarian aid. There's still phase 5 starvation. And what Israel's going to do, they played Donald Trump in the first administration. He blew up the Iran nuclear deal set up by Obama, that everyone, even the critics like Mattis and others, said that was a good deal. He's the one that got played by Netanyahu a couple of months ago, almost took us to World War III by bombing Iran. And right now, this is just theater. Theater for Netanyahu, theater for Donald Trump. What's going to happen literally is maybe by the time he leaves, maybe by Monday, maybe by the weekend, Danielle, maybe by friggin' Wednesday, Israel is going to continue its bombardment.
People were murdered last night. So, I you know what I'm saying, folks?
That's why they're pissed. That's why if you're on Twitter right now, fee, fi, fo, fum, GOP's pissed. They demand that everyone give Donald Trump credit. And we're like, no. And that's why it's a cult, because the world realizes that Trump and Netanyahu are complicit in a genocide. And Donald Trump released an AI video of him and Netanyahu enjoying the Riviera on the Middle East. He told Netanyahu, finish what you started, get it over with. Jared Kushner is sitting there talking to Netanyahu. They know that they have deals there. Nobody buys this. Everyone knows it's a photo op. I'm glad the hostages were released. I'm glad these 2,000 Palestinians were released. But just wait.
I'll tell you
wait till Wednesday.
You don't even have to wait until Wednesday. But this is where we will end today. Because I got to tell you, I appreciate this version of Kamala Harris. I wish that this is the version of Kamala Harris that we had gotten for 107 days. And I'm not saying at all, folks, that her not winning was her fault. It was not. It's the establishment Democrats' fault. It's Joe Biden's fault. A lot of folks are to blame. But here's where I just lose it. I have no idea why people are going to this woman who is not the president of the United States to her book tour to heckle her about what is happening in Gaza and have the audacity to yell at her about her legacy. Go put that fucking energy at the White House. Go bring that fucking energy to wherever Donald Trump is, to wherever Kristi Noem is, to wherever JD Vance is, because I got to tell you that this kind of bullshit, which I will play for you, didn't help us before the election, ain't helping anybody now. But you take a listen.
I'm not president. And if you want to talk about legacy, let's talk about the legacy of mass deportation. of people not voting and Donald Trump.
Like, essentially, that was her version of miss me with your bullshit. Like, you wanted to heckle me during my 107-day push. You told people not to vote because of what was happening in Gaza. You told people not to vote because I wasn't to be trusted. And now you're showing up at my book tour. Why am I on a book tour and not in the White House? A number of reasons, but let us be clear. Your energy is being misused. Waj, your final thoughts.
My final thoughts is the following. I've said it before and I'll say it again, that there are two major, if you will, litmus tests for Democrats moving forward. One of them is, will they turn on the bro-oligarchy? And the other is their position on Israel and Palestine and its supporters. Israel supporters when it comes to AIPAC, and Palestinian supporters, which are now the majority of Democrats and majority of young people around the world. A mistake that Kamala Harris made was that she didn't give any daylight between her and Joe Biden was complicit, and we should be honest, in the genocide of Israel. He gave him a green light. Joe Biden could have gotten this photo op. He chose not to. It's going to be part of his legacy that he failed. Donald Trump gets the photo op, but Donald Trump is a failure, and Israel is going to play him. So with Kamala Harris, she got stuck. If she could rewind, I'm sure she would have taken a different route, invited a Palestinian to the stage of the DNC. But this is where we are. She's no longer president, folks. She's promoting her book. Put that energy against Schumer. Put that energy against Jeffries. Yep. Tell them to friggin' embrace Mamdani. Go against the elected officials who are supporting AIPAC talking points. Support those individuals who are willing to actually have a ceasefire and the end of arms sales, the end of occupation. It was Code Pink who did it. Friggin' just, like now is the time where she ain't running, folks, and she's probably not running again. So use your time and your energy wisely. If you have this much energy, show up to the No Kings rally on October 18th.
And before we get out of here, just want to shout out the super stickers and super thanks, folks. We have a really good audience today.
We got 2,000 people on Substack.
Yeah, we have over 2,000 people on Substack, over 2,000 people here. And so if you have yet to hit the bell, like, comment, and subscribe, continue to feed the algorithm fairies for us so that I can get to 40,000 subscribers. I hit 33,000 last night. So I want to say thank you to every single person that has been showing up. Barb, thank you so much. Susan, as always, Julie, Game Shark, Megan, Janine, Ghostface Killer, as always, Susan again, E. Schwartz, appreciate you, Kay Wallach, Susan, just making it rain today, Trail Go,
always,
TMFJ, Josie, Christine, Jimmy, Tara, Kathleen, Susan again, Lynn, and Susan again. Thank you so very much, Susan, for your continued dedication to this channel, for your moderation, for your generous donations. We cannot do this without you, and we are so incredibly grateful.
We're getting a lot of love on Substack as well. Thank you all. Thank you, Gloria, Joanne, Alan says best of the 800 kids. Thank you. Jacqueline said, I knew listening to you guys would lift up my spirits. We appreciate it. Karen said, missed you on the weekend, Waj. I didn't take the day off. I actually still did work because I'm an idiot, but I didn't do any Substacks. So I had to just restore myself. But then I went and raised funds for a good organization and spent 5 hours on Sunday doing that. And my wife's like, what's wrong with you? But it's the good work. Thank you to, Nancy says, love your show. Robin says, thank you too. Appreciate it, guys. We got like 2,200 people watching on Twitter and YouTube. We got about 2,100 watching on our Substack. For those who joined us late, this will be played back on Danielle's YouTube channel. It'll be up in about a minute, so you can come back and watch us. Please share it. Please like. I know it sounds ridiculous, but if you just press that like button, it goes a long way. It feeds the algorithm elves. If you haven't rung the bell on Danielle's YouTube, please do. She hosts like 17 shows. We also then have this up later on our Substacks on the Damn Digest and on the Left Hook, where everything is free because we're terrible capitalists. But we hope that people just are informed as we're dealing with fascism. Everything we warned about for the past 3.5 years on this show. And if you have a few dollars, give it to Danielle. And if you have a few bucks after that, give it to me to feed one of my 800 kids. But if not, just subscribe. And we will be back Wednesday at 3 p.m. for our midweek check-in. I have Allison Gill on in 6 minutes.
All right.
And then I have Tara Setmeyer on at 2 p.m. Danielle, what do you have?
Coming up later, I have my 5 p.m. show, The Danielle Moody Show, right back here. And folks, I have videos up of my interview series, The Fire Pit, that I started last week. So do check out those videos with Glenn Kirshner and Adam Parkamenko. Those are up now, as well as my check-in with Jared Yates Sexton. So I'll see you guys back here at 5 p.m. Go over to Substack to the left hook and watch Wajahat Ali right now. We appreciate you guys. Take care of yourselves, each other, and don't be a fascist.